Welcome back. I'm Kimile, and you're listening to Heal with Kimile podcast. So, what if you have royally messed up in your relationship and you had texted some other girl and she found out? How do you deal with that? How do you handle it? You don't want a divorce. You love your wife, but you have been a dummy. Well, first thing you got to realize is the earth shattering moment that was for her to discover that you are not who she thought you were. And she can't help but see you a little differently now. And this goes both ways, females, gay couples, whatever. Anybody betraying anybody, that person that's been betrayed is going to look at you differently because they have to. Or if they don't, they're in denial and they're going to have a moment down the road that's going to come back on them. But what if you're the one that you have messed up and it wasn't even worth that? I mean, you're not having sex with this person, and even if you are, come on now. You got to look at yourself and go, what am I doing? Because at the end of the day, let's just say your partner, they're assholes, she's a bitch, whatever. You can tell me all the ugly stories you want. None of that is justifying what you're doing. You got to get honest. This is you kind of, is justifying actually. This is how you justify doing whatever you did. If you were unhappy, if you didn't want to stay in this relationship, it's best to just be straight about that and move on. Now, I got it. You're going to lose half your shit. And, you don't want to ruin your children's life. I understand. Then go to therapy and sort yourself out. Because if they find out that you're unfaithful, now they have evidence to scorch the earth with you. But I think that the couples that try and stay and make it work, if it doesn't break you up, because this kind of stuff breaks people up. But if you stay and you're trying to make it work, here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to start defending and blaming your partner for why you had to do that. Jeez. I'm dealing with a couple now, and this is a guy that texted an ex, and it was the girl he was dating right before the marriage. And again, this is not, she was married, so she was married too. And so it's just silly. And he was lying about something, bragging about something. This is something I have. He really didn't have it. But there was just this weird little, I just want to stay connected to that. Is that plan B? Because I'm asking him, what's the intention? What was your primary motivator for contacting her? And how long has this been going on? The entire marriage? Because this is the girl right before the marriage. So are you over her? Yeah, he didn't want her. There's nothing there. But it really wasn't even about the girl. It's interesting when people do something like this, because if I said to you, how is that a solution to your pain or a solution to your problem? Texting her solved a problem for you. What was that problem? Well, I don't know. Okay, so you got to start processing and finding out why you do the things you do. Because I do think it was kind of an unconscious act. And the outcome of it, or the effect of texting somebody, like that, it's a little taboo. I shouldn't be doing it. I get a little rush out of it. I'm mad at my spouse or my partner, so screw them. And they're being assholes today, so I'm just going to do this. I feel better. Got one over on them, which again is nasty. I mean, that's kind of nasty, right? That's mean-spirited. That's also very deceptive. It's kind of Machiavellian. It's like, who are you, right? So you got to look at what's the real payoff. There's going to be a payoff for that text message. And, true to form, and I'm going to say like porn. I mean, porn's predictable. People look at it for the effect and it's predictable. It doesn't say no. Well, again, an ex relationship, it's predictable. She's on her best behavior. She's going to be, ooh, and wow, and you're amazing. You're awesome. That kind of praise. And that's what this text stream was like. And there was other text streams, with this person. But it seems to be this fake praise and this fake kind of a connection. Both of them are probably lying to each other. They don't plan on hooking up, but they're just in some sort of arrangement. I think it's more of an emotional support, really, inside of this fake connection with this text. But the damage that does to your other half is extreme. So first of all, you want to look at yourself. You really want to pull back and say, man, am I really relationship ready? What am I doing? How am I showing up in this relationship? Because that's kind of a get even moment. There's usually revenge that motivates most affairs. They want to get at their partner. They want to hurt them, which is, again, nasty. And then they use someone else to do it. Kind of mean, very mean. But you don't want to defend and then deflect and blame. Sure, there's probably plenty of blame to go around with couples. It takes two. But you have to stop and listen to their pain. And that is really hard. We get defensive because we don't want to get intimate. We don't want to be close. I don't want to hear that. She's sobbing. She's crying. She's wounded. She's hurt. Genuinely hurt. And he can't handle it. he's getting mad at her. Oh, this drama, it wasn't that bad. I didn't do anything with her. All these things. But what she's walking away from with that experience is thinking, I'm not special to this guy. I'm an option. I'm not special. I don't know what I am to him. I'm an annoyance. I'm a hindrance. When she first confronted him, you're crazy. What are you going to do? You're crazy. She wanted to call the girl and text the girl. She knew her. And well, no, don't be doing that. You're crazy. So now he's defending the girl. See, I'm dealing with a guy that's doing everything wrong. I'm like, dude, you are on the verge of a divorce. You need to come listen to me. So I'm seeing him today again. But there has just got to be a reality check. And then, true to form, we go back to the past, how he designed his identity with women, with mama, with an aunt, with whoever. Then he's got some major stuff, major issues with his mom, who he felt abandoned by. He was abandoned by. So I think just getting somebody, some mommy, a substitute mommy. And interestingly enough, who does this woman remind him of? The woman he's texting? Mama. It's mommy. There's similarities in their temperaments and their looks and the lies. And so he's got this woman's attention and he's got her praise. And that's what he's desperate for. Now, he doesn't want to admit that. He hates looking at that. But until he looks at that and realizes that this is where he's broken, and until he fixes this issue with mommy, he is going to keep doing this to women because it's all about him getting validated. It's not about him being his word or being the man or doing what he's supposed to do for his wife. And she's insisting that he works this out because until he understands exactly how he got himself in trouble like this, it's going to happen again. And I 100% agree. Your behavior, it's either conscious or unconscious behavior. And I do think this is maybe an unconscious behavior on his part, but he's had 3 wives. And I think all 3 wives he's had some of these kind of activities with, texting some girl to just make him feel like he's the man, because he's fighting with his wife or he's going through something. They're not connected or she's traveling or whatever. It's like he's that needy. He's that needy. And again, saying that to an alpha male, you're that needy. Oh, it doesn't go over well. He doesn't like it, but it's true. So, and I'm not going to, withhold breakthrough material. I'm going to make sure I've got everything out front so we can have a breakthrough. But the last thing you want to do is not pause and really ponder your behavior. No one's making you do that. No one's making this guy reach out to an ex. This is something he's craving. And it's kind of a weird, thing because it isn't real. And this woman isn't giving him anything. There's nothing really out of it. It's just this fantasy. And so I think that's what maybe a little boy wanted was validation from mom. That if he had that validation from his mommy energy, that he would feel like he's okay. And then the wife wonders what's wrong with me? How come I'm not validating him? Look, it ain't usually about you. If you've got a partner that has cheated on you, it's not usually about you. Okay. In fact, I know it's not about you. I had my ex-husband cheat on me, got my girlfriend pregnant, and he had a horrible relationship with his mother, an abandonment issue with his mom. And so in my 20s, that was pretty gutting, pretty devastating. So I understand how this goes. And again, he did everything, he probably shouldn't have done. He blamed it on me. Well, if you do this, if you do that. So I did all those things. I did everything he asked me to do. Still did it. So it wasn't like I could change everything to make him different. And I knew that it wasn't going to change, but I accommodated everything he said he needed so that he would have that wake up call. And he did, and realize this probably isn't you. This is me. Oh, okay. Well, what's that about? Because all those things that people do, what if it isn't really about you? Yes, it impacts you. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. I'm not taking any of that away. But people do what they do. And again, you can't blame it on an external force. You're doing what you're going to do. No one's making you do anything. I didn't make my ex cheat. I didn't make him do anything. This is something he was going to do because he's in some sort of pain and he's going to act that out. So this is what you have to look at. And so when people do these kind of things, unless they really process and figure out what motivated them to do it, and they're willing to become completely transparent with you. And this is hard because who wants to be the police, the phone police or the text police? Nobody. But that person really needs to take a pause and maybe even say, look, I'm going to pull back from this relationship so I quit hurting you because I need to figure out what I'm really mad at because this is not who I want to be inside of this marriage. And you can deal with yourself in such a way that actually regains faith and trust from your partner, from your spouse. And how you do that is you own it, all of it. And you may have to say you're sorry a million times. I don't care how long it takes, because it's something that it will destroy the fabric of your family if you don't own every piece of this, and then do whatever you can to make sure that you sort yourself out so you quit doing that. And it isn't easy. I knew a guy that he had 7 kids with this woman, and he cheated on her, destroyed her. I mean, it was awful. It went, nationwide. This was a TV thing, but he had an affair, left her, and just was having kind of midlife crisis, basically. But to this day, and they're in their 80s. These people are in their 80s now. They did divorce. Of course, they broke up. But he went back to clean up the mess that he had created with the whole community, their whole family. Everybody in their family, that anybody that knew him, that knew them together. He even started speeches this way. He was a famous speaker. He would start out, worst thing I ever did in my life was cheat on my wife. And yes, we got divorced over it, and I own it. I ruined her life. Like, he just leads with what a horrible, awful person he was to harm her that way. But what he's done is he's made it okay for her to own that wound. Thank you. Thank you for validating that. It really crushed me. She's complete. She's okay with it now. Of course, it's been, 40 years. But back then it was quite the scandal. But this man really does tell that story all the time. I said, why do you keep telling that story? This has been 40 years ago. We are over it now. The kids are over it. The kids forgive you. They hated you at once, but now they forgive you. He did everything he could to make it right. He wasn't going to stop until he made it right with everybody he knew that knew him and her. And she hated him for so long. And again, he just said, you should hate me. I deserve all of that. He just owned it, kept owning it. And then everybody came around because he genuinely owned it. And he would do anything to make it right. Anything. What do you need? What can I buy? What pain can I endure? What do you want to do to me? He went the distance to make sure he cleaned up that mess. And everyone's healed because of that. The whole family gets the whole world of it. He knows why he did it. It was the way I made myself feel better, all these things. But I asked him, why do you keep doing that? Why do you keep self-debasing like that? He said, because I don't want to forget. It's how I maintain, and I never forget what I did to another human being, because I was not healed. It was not fixed. So I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop sharing that story. That really did help me grow, and it keeps me remembering who I am and why I'm here on this planet. And his cause, he's a cause in his life, and he wants to be a cause of healing too. So that's how you recover. That's how you heal this kind of betrayal, is you own it, you own it, you own it until, well, never. I think you never quit owning it. So if any of this sounds like something you'd like to talk to me about, I would love to talk to you. You can reach out to me on my website. It's healwithkimile.com. Heal, Heal, with KIMILE.com. Thanks for listening. Have a peaceful day. Bye.